Okay guys, so now we are going to learn about while loops in Java. So we're in IntelliJ. Let's just create a new project called while loop, which will house the code for our while loops in here. Let's just add the sample code as well. Let's get our IntelliJ. Cool. So I assume you guys have come from the previous tutorial about for loops. If you haven't, please do go back to that. It is in the same playlist as this one. So, a while loop in Java, or a while loop in any programming language really, is sort of like continuously playing a song on repeat as long as a certain condition is true. That's sort of my basic analogy for it. So, an example of this would be like, keep playing the music as long as the party's going. And obviously you're probably thinking that sounds similar to a for loop, which it does, right? Now, the main difference between the two is that a while loop will execute forever until a certain condition is met. Whereas a for loop will execute however many times a while loop, will execute however many times a sort of upper bound has been hit, right? So with a for loop, we know, okay, we're going from 0 through 5. Whereas on a while loop, we don't really know. And it could be running forever. So the most basic example of a while loop is going to be the while true. So we type while to start our while loop, and then 2 brackets. And then we'll just write true for now. Space, curly bracket, enter. And then what we're going to do is we're going to go system.out.println, and then partying. So essentially what we've done here, we've created a while loop that runs forever. So if we run this program will never, ever stop. Meaning that if you kept this computer plugged in, it would run for the rest of eternity. And as you can see, we can scroll up and everything. We can see all of the partying that's going on. I mean, we could sit here forever and it would continue running. Now, obviously we don't want that, but a lot of programs do operate in that way. So let's just stop this program. Cool. Now, obviously we don't want this. We are going to basically have it so that it terminates when a certain condition is met. Now, what we'll do is we can keep track of the counter, right? So we go int count equals 1 to start at 1. And then we can just continue going through and go count plus plus, and that will increment the count by 1. And then just like a for loop, we could be like if while the count is less than 10, is less than 10, not greater than 10, we write partying, and then eventually we will break out of the for loop. Now, obviously, this is a while loop, but this is sort of a for loop-like type of thing that we can achieve with a while loop. But here's where while loops can be advantageous. So, for example, if we wanted to continue going forever until we guess a certain value, then we could do this. So, let's just get rid of everything here. We're basically going to have the computer generate a random number between 1 and 20, let's say. So we can do this by going integer dot I think it's integer dot random or something. Oh no, sorry, we want random dot from. No, we want, sorry, random equals new random. And then we can go int n equals random dot next int. We can then pass in 20 there. And then, now we've guessed a number, we can then say if n is equal to 15, which is a 1 in 20 chance it will be, then we can break out of the for loop. And what this does is it essentially, we carry on forever, but then when we break, we then go into this bit of the code and we run as normal. So what we can do is we can say finished here. Now what will happen here is the computer will guess a number until it's got 15 and then it will finish. But obviously that was done very quickly. So what we can do is each time we can essentially output this random number. So I guessed. So this is the computer guessing, n. Right, so then the computer will carry on guessing until it's got 15. Now, what we can do is we can have it, pick a random number between 50. And it might run more times. It might run less times. It might get it first time. But obviously, as you can see, the output is going to be consistent. So here we had quite a few guesses. Now, we can make this, thousands. And obviously we don't want to log this out thousands of times. So we can essentially take this out. And obviously this is an if statement, so we can put a curly bracket here. If you haven't watched the video on if statements, please go back and watch that. Anything within here will happen when we hit 15. So now we can put this inside here and be like, I guessed 15. So now it will basically sort of guess it until it's got 15. Now let's just add more to this, add a higher number. And it might take longer guessing, it might not. It might cycle through all of them, it might not. I guess we'll wait. So it's basically continuing to go through all of these. And at some point, hopefully, it will guess 15 and it'll be like, yay, I got it. I mean, on your computer, this might have done it by now. Because this is basically completely random. It might happen in 1 second. It might happen in 10 seconds. It might happen in 20 minutes. So let's just wait maybe a little bit longer to see if it guesses. Or we could just run it again and hopefully it will guess quicker. You never know. So what I'm going to do is just print out the guess, right? So we'll just go n. And then we can see it generate all sorts of crazy numbers. So it's guessing out of quite a large amount of numbers. So this demonstrates like a valid use case of a while true, where we could continue many times and sort of do it until a certain condition is met, and that is something you can't do with for loops. Let's make this a more manageable number. Let's go like 500. See how quickly it will guess it. Bam! Guess 15, maybe a few seconds. So yeah, that is an instruction to while loops. And we were also using the break functionality, and this is what allows us to break out of the loop. So if we obviously didn't put this in, then it would carry on going. And obviously this code becomes unreachable because this is going to happen forever and it will never make it down here.